Welcome to Holy Trinity Lutheran Church's Senior Club. This is our kickoff 2019, and we have Dottie Fulginiti, who is the chairman of the Board of Selectmen, which is now called the Select Board.
Yes.
Yep. And Dottie is a wonderful, wonderful leader in our community. And she is also very entertaining and engaging, and she's going to give us a wonderful rundown of what's happening in Easton and what are the challenges, both present and future. So we welcome you, Dottie, and we look forward to a great presentation.
Thank you, Priscilla.
And thank you. And then we'll have questions and answers after your presentation.
Thank you. I'm very happy to be here. I was just mentioning that the previous chairs of this board had always said that this was one of the highlights, that they really enjoyed coming to speak every year. And last year was my first year here, which I really enjoyed. So I'm really grateful to be invited back. So thank you all. There are a lot of great things going on in town right now, and some of those cause a little bit of frustration too if you've been trying to drive through some of our roads. We have a lot of work being done on the roads right now, up on 138, but in the Queesit district, up past Stonehill a little bit. That roadway work is sewer work, and that was just completed this week. So the traffic should be great up in that area now. Up further down 138, where Union Street intersects next to the pool place, the state is putting in some traffic lights there, so that work is ongoing. And then down in the Five Corners, from Shaw's down to Target, we're putting in sewer there, and that road work is ongoing. Right now, if you wanted to go to Target from this direction, you would travel east to west. But if you were down at Target and you wanted to come back, you'd have to go down Highland Street. So there's one-way traffic there. We have people that are working on that travel that several times a week to be sure that the traffic is moving properly. And you know, not going to try to say it any other way. It is tough. It is tough with the traffic, but when it's finished, we're going to be very excited. The intention is to attract some business in that area and to create a vibrant neighborhood where people have access to a lot of amenities. And there's water feature places people can go camp and kayak and things like that. So there's a lot of great things down in that area. The other thing is the school. We're looking at building a new primary school, grade pre-K to grade 2. The Moreau Hall, the Center, and the Parkview schools are in terrible disrepair. They're quite old, 50 to 75 years old, and the cost to repair those is about $86 million. And that would be just to get them up to safety standards. It wouldn't address the overcrowding in the classrooms or the educational needs. So the program, the Mass School Building Authority, has a program where you have to apply and they select schools. It's a very competitive process, and Easton was awarded the opportunity to participate in this program. So for 2 years now, we've been doing a feasibility and design study to think of the ways that it would make most sense to address these problems, whether we should renovate schools or we should consolidate and have one school with combining those 3 primary schools. That is what we've come to the conclusion, and that will be on the Parkview site. The total cost to rebuild this new school is about $95 million, and the Mass School Building Authority will give us money towards that. So it's going to cost the town about $56 million of the 95. So keep your eyes open. There's going to be a special town meeting on October 28th. The town has to vote to borrow the money to be able to pay our share of that. It has to pass a town meeting, and then it has to go to the ballot, and that will be probably November 5th. And it has to pass in both places for this to move forward. If it doesn't pass, we won't get an opportunity like this again. We've already spent $1 million on the feasibility study. That money would be gone, and the MSBA won't invite you back into the program again. So this is really a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for us, and it's very exciting for Easton. And I think that, you know, whether people are younger or older, it's good for our community, it's good for our property values. Of course, it's good educationally. And, you know, for those that, that are having, you know, concerns about the amount of the tax impact on that, we're going to have the final numbers in a couple of weeks, and there'll be a calculator on the website that you can plug in the value of your home, and it will tell you how much the tax impact will be. So we're working on that right now. And it's also very important to note, a lot of people aren't aware of this, but we do have some programs for income qualified people, older people, veterans, where there can be tax deferral, there's tax abatement programs, there's you know, a whole range of things that we can do to offer. And what I always recommend is for people to go to the Council on Aging, if you haven't done that, and talk with them and, you know, find out. Sometimes people could use fuel assistance. A lot of times veterans aren't really, you know, requesting what offerings are available to them. I know that even my parents, they live down the Cape, but they go every year to talk to the Shine counselor because prescription coverage changes and health insurance changes. And so you want somebody who's an expert to guide you through those processes. So I would highly recommend people going to the Council on Aging for those things. So what other things are of interest to people? We talked about it a little bit. What are people's thoughts on the school?
First, I heard that the state was going to give us a grant of $65 million, and if $95 million is the total cost, that would be $30 million, not $56 million. Have those numbers changed?
The numbers, you know, I want to try to look and see if I can find that. The numbers have been changing weekly because we're making changes to kind of whittle down, if you will, you know, all of the costs and the ideas. I had it here. I might have transposed the number on that, Priscilla. Let me see if I can find it. Nope, the repair is estimated at $86 million. The estimated cost for the new school is $94.84, and $36 million is being reimbursed by the MSBA. So that means Easton would be responsible for $58.6 million. So.
But Dottie, I heard that to fix the schools that are now in existence would be $85 million, and the cost of the new school would be $95 million. So, it's hard to say for just $10 million more, but we're getting a better bargain with a new school, because even fixing the older schools doesn't mean they're fixed forever.
Well, and also the state won't give any money towards those fixes. So, and we don't have $86 million. We couldn't even borrow that right now. So what would happen is we would have to pick one school, and it would just be the Band-Aid approach. And these schools have been maintained as much as possible. But even if, you know, provided, say, the vote goes through, we move forward, there's still a time period where there has to be some design and some things that happen. We have to have our fingers crossed that we don't lose a boiler or some big thing happens in one of these schools now that's going to cost a lot of money. You know, it's just like in your own home or in your own car. The older it gets, the things that break on it are much more expensive. And so those are some of the things, you know, roofs, infrastructure. There's going to be tours of all three of those schools on Wednesday nights and Saturday mornings. And you'll be able to go in and see for yourself. If you go to the project website, which is www.eastonproject.com, there's videos of the schools, and there's a frequently asked questions page that's updated with all the current information and current numbers on those. So I would recommend that people go out and do the tour. Even seeing it on TV is just you'll be shocked, but to see it in person and to the smells and the touches and the experience of it is very different.
How come we allowed our schools to become so deteriorated?
It's just, it happens with aging schools. They're expensive to maintain, and our DPW, we have a very...
Everything's expensive, so is $98 million, so I mean...
Right, but...
How much maintenance had we been able to do that would have alleviated?
Well,
Or
it's...
did we just ignore them?
No, we've done maintenance over the years, but, infrastructure things, boilers, roofs, on old buildings, that just happens.
Flat roofs. Are we going to have a flat roof on this building too, so it will leak?
Well, they're not specifically flat roofs. There'll be different roofs and peaks, and they've engineered all of that so that it won't leak.
Dottie, maybe you can repeat the question because we don't have any microphones. So my question
Sure.
is, the town will be selling, if the new school goes through, the town will be selling Moreau Hall, Center Street,
We don't own Moreau Hall. We can't sell it. It's Stone Hills, we rent it.
Oh, we
No,
rent it?
no, it's the town's.
We bought it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay, so my question is, has there been an estimate on the revenue that we would get from selling these three? Are we going to sell all three schools?
Well, it would only be two schools, the Center School and Moreau Hall. There's no specific plans on any of that yet. The Municipal Building Committee is looking at the options for what would make the most sense for the town with those two properties.
So it's possible that the municipality might use them for other purposes?
Right.
Okay. Now, what's going to happen to the Parkview School that exists now? Is that going to be torn down?
Yes, so this new school will be built behind where the Parkview School is now. And then the front, when that's built, they'll tear down the Parkview School. So the ball fields are going to be on the other side from where they are now. So this school will be closer to Lothrop Street, where the police and fire are now. And there's drawings of this online that you can see. And there's a couple of public participation sessions that will be coming up, that everyone in town will be getting a postcard for it, and you can go and they'll have all of this information for you to see. All of the meetings have been televised also that are broadcast on ECAT, so you'll be able to, those are playing now and you can call them up on demand on your computer.
So what sorts of purposes would the Center School and the Moreau Hall be? What are some of the ideas that have been thrown out for those buildings?
Well, Moreau Hall, Stonehill is probably going to want to talk to us about that to see, if they're interested in taking that back on their campus. Center School it's called Center School because it's right in the center of our town. So as we look at, our other buildings that are also aging, and you'll see that many of the other towns have had to build new municipal buildings for fire, DPW, and police. That might be a good location. These are things that the Municipal Building Committee is exploring now, to possibly put some municipal buildings on the Center School property.
Would they ever move administration from 150 Oliver Street?
Well, that's a great question.
Repeat the question.
The question was, will we be moving administration from 50 Oliver Street? A lot of people had questions when we first started to look at the design of the schools. It didn't include administration being moved. But the more discussion that we had, people in the community were saying, we're renting a property at $90,000 a year for administration. Why can't we put that in the school? So we did a cost-benefit analysis on that to see, does it make sense for us to do that? One of the things that's interesting is the Mass School Building Authority reimburses certain things on the projects for construction costs, but they won't reimburse anything to put administration for that part of it. So it's about 5,500 square feet. So we did a design adding the central administration to that footprint. And it does make sense to do that. Even though we won't get reimbursement for that part of it, there's a lot of reasons why it's a challenge to have the administration off-site. For one thing, the town doesn't own the property. They're renting it from a private developer who owns 50 Oliver. If that building changes hands, if they decide they want to do something different, if you think about it, where else could you put their administration that's near the schools? And the other thing that came up recently in one of our meetings is they have to have secure fiber network for security reasons for their computers. I think they said it was about $300,000 a mile to get that type of technology. So say some of the places that you could think of, like could they go to the industrial park? Well, that's a couple miles away from the school. To put in that fiber network would probably be, it could be close to $1 million, $800,000 to $1 million just to add on to that. So there is, in the documents that are on the website, there are cost analyses that talk about when we would break even and how that would work. We also have no control over the rent increases or things like that. So, and that part of the design, it's obviously connected to the school, but each part of the school have like almost modules where people could come in and there could be an assembly in one part, but they won't be able to get to the other parts of the school. So you'd go to central administration, and sadly we have to really be looking at security in our new schools and public buildings. So a lot of thought went into the security of the access points of the school and where the public would have access to and how teachers and students would move throughout the school. Some of the questions that we got were, you're taking these little kids and you're putting them in this big school. Is it going to be overwhelming for them? And, we have neighborhood schools where kids, it's a smaller scale. So a lot of thought went into the design of this on how to make it an experience from the time the child and the family leave their car or their bus to walking up to the school. What does that look like? What is the height of even the walls that are, like a little stone wall that's a shorter height? There'll be like patio areas with coverings over it, so you'll gradually come into the school at different levels of heights. They're not just going to be standing there in front of a huge building like that. And then when they're in the school, even the different hallways will have themes, and there'll be things to do, activities in the hallways to get them to the classroom. So it's really very exciting, and I think you'd enjoy looking at some of the ideas.
What about security inside? We have, until the gun laws are changed and we have some gun control, it's always a threat, mass shootings and so forth. Are there any design changes that have taken place inside the building in anticipation of such a horrible event?
Well, what I can tell you is, for security in the schools, the question is, with the mass shootings and things that we've had, how are we addressing that for this new school? As with all our schools, there is a security protocol. I'm not even privy to the details of that. It's not supposed to be out for the public. They don't want the bad guys to know what the security protocols are, right? So I will tell you in what we have seen as part of the school design is the way the classrooms are laid out. There's areas in all of them that are safe areas that you can't see from a window outside. So there is strategies with the design and the shapes of the classrooms. But beyond that, the real security features, the kinds of things that you might be speaking about, those are handled by our security contractors that we work with, and as they are in our schools now, and will follow through. But I can't speak to detail on that.
I'm talking about the interior of the classroom. So, are there enough little cubby holes for the whole class
Yes.
to be sequestered in?
Yes.
If there's ever a threat?
Yep, if there's ever a threat, there are areas in the classrooms where the children would go, the teachers would go, and they would have a protocol for how to do that.
And the doors lock.
I would imagine, we don't have that level of technical detail, but that the security departments would handle that.
That 95 million that you mentioned, does that include the administration, or is that?
It does.
It does.
Yep.
So, and the vote will be for the schools and the administration as one package?
Yes. Yep. And we spent a lot of time on that, and as I said, in the beginning, that wasn't the thought. It was the community that came forward and said that they really wanted to see that.
Seems to make sense.
Yep.
Dottie, if this does not pass, will there be an override? Will there be, is there any thought about what happens next?
We have 120 days to pass this. So if for some reason it didn't pass, one of the options could be is we could try to have another town meeting. It has to pass town meeting to get on the ballot. If it didn't pass on the ballot, we could have another election. Those are very expensive. But if it doesn't pass, and in some towns it hasn't passed, it's not, everyone I talk to says this is, a done deal. Everybody thinks it's a great project, but it's not if people don't get out and vote for it. And like I say, if we miss this opportunity, it would really be a tragedy, because there are some cities and towns that have not taken advantage of it, and you won't get back on the list. You lose the money that you've already invested towards this.
When is the vote?
The vote town meeting will be October 28th. It's going to be at Stonehill. We were expecting that the last time there was a vote for schools, for I believe it was the high school renovation and middle school, there were about 2,800 people that came to that, so we were expecting that or more. And where could we have that big of a group of people? The open meeting laws were different back then. Now you have to be able to address everyone's questions. So I think the last time it was done was in the auditorium, the gymnasium, and the cafeteria at the high school.
Right.
To do that technologically, Kim, you'd love to set that up. It would be a real challenge, because if somebody in one different area wanted to ask a question, it would have to get put through somehow to a speaker in the main room. So we worked collaboratively with Stonehill, and we're very grateful to them that they're letting us use their gymnasium. So we'll be able to fit everyone there in one room.
And handicap accessible.
Yes, and handicapped accessible. We're working out some logistics with parking. We're not sure how much parking, but there will be buses available to take people. There'll be designated parking areas. We're still kind of working out the details on that, but we'll make sure people can get there.
Is the board planning on sending a letter to every voter detailing what we're going to lose and why this is in our own best interests financially? Because I think people have to see it in writing. Because if you mention it at Stonehill, there's so much information that goes in one ear and out the other. I think people have to hear it several times, and a letter to every voter outlining, very short and sweet bullet points, the points that you've mentioned, the 1 million we've already invested that we'll lose, the fact that we won't get back on, we won't get any more state money, and we're going to get 35 million. That's not chump change.
Right.
So,
Well, there's a group. There's groups of people in the community that are sharing that information on social media, some of these numbers and some of these concepts. We've been on ECAT numerous times at different meetings. There's numerous public meetings. We'll be getting coverage in the paper. I think it is a good idea to put something like that together, and I'll bring that forward, Priscilla.
okay, because there are a lot of senior citizens who are not on social media.
Right.
And the people who are younger people, and they're going to vote for this project. So you're talking to the choir when you have that, just deal with the social network stuff.
Sure.
So a letter to everybody. I know when we were talking about monies for the shovel works, and when we converting those into apartments and so forth. Our little group of 6, we worked on a letter, and in fact Colleen wrote the letter, Colleen Corona wrote the letter and I edited it, and we sent it to every single household that we knew would vote for us. So we went through all of the people that had attended town meeting for the past 3 years, and anybody who was a consistent attendee would be a voter. And but we sent it only to people that the 6 of us knew would be on our side. And if somebody wasn't,
I think you're giving away all the secrets, Priscilla.
okay, you can
So you're
repeat
not
that.
going to notify the people who don't want to have it?
Yeah,
No,
so there's a political action committee, and it's the acronym is SEE, and they're the ones that can do that. The town, you have the great point. The town can't choose and select which people we want to send things to. It's got to go to everybody or nobody. But people on other groups like that can certainly reach out. We should be talking with younger families. We should be talking with older people. We should be talking with everyone. Jane Martin is the chair of the school building committee, and she has gone out. She's spoken with the Triad group. She's on tour speaking with everyone. We'll have a table at the Sheep Pasture Natural Resources Fair that we hope people will come by. But we try to reach everybody in every way we possibly can, but we still are not able to reach everyone. So this opportunity is wonderful to talk about this and for you to spread the word or invite us to come to any events that you have.
Maybe a meeting at Council on Aging for any of those groups that go there would be a good place to get a good number. See, it seems to me it's the seniors that are going to be more in the negative zone.
Oh, yeah.
Seems like young families are going to want this.
Yeah.
So as many seniors as you can talk to.
Well, I think the seniors that I've talked to, they're very concerned about the cost, but they also understand that if these schools, we don't take care of these now, it's going to be a real problem for your property values. That's why people come to a town, is because of the schools, and we would be in danger of losing accreditation. They could close schools if they feel that they're unsafe for kids. And we've had certain areas now where they have been talking to the schools about different accreditation challenges because, if you watch the videos, you'll see that some of the rooms, like the nurse's room, doesn't even have a bathroom in it. Some of these rooms are closets that are converted into small teaching areas. It's not the proper way to do things. So,
And it's been that way for many years.
right,
Since they were built,
Yeah.
right,
because that met the criteria at the time.
right, exactly.
So October 28th is the magic date.
October 28th, and the select board hasn't voted on the ballot date, but it looks like it's going to be November 5th. So keep that as a save the date, and we'll be voting on that date officially.
And it has to have a positive vote on the 28th to be on the ballot.
Yes. Yep. So we need everyone to come out and vote.
Now, the new building is going to be wired for, all the new technology that is not available in the older buildings.
Right.
So, this is also looking to the future and very important, I think.
Well, everything that we build, we have to look at how long is this? This is going to be for another 75 years. And when we were looking at even, the Mass School Building Authority, it's a very prescriptive process. And you do, some work on what you want to do. For instance, here's the design. They want to review it, and they have a panel with about 12 to 14 people that are architects and educators and program managers, and they look through what we come up with a fine-tooth comb, and they say, well, we don't like this, or we like this, or everything's changed and checked and double-checked. The materials that we're looking at and picking, it's just a fascinating process. We're looking at the lifespan of certain materials, the hard, panels on the outside of the building, but what is also the cost to maintain them, and where is that trade-off? If you pick the most expensive one, it might last the longest, but it might also cost the most to maintain along the way. So there's a lot of questions and a lot of thought that you have to go through to be able to choose things like that for the building. But, you know, we want this to last for 75 years plus.
Has there been a study in terms of how many students are projected for the future? Because I know that we've had some years where there's been a decline. And has there been a study to show that the school population will only be increasing?
Well, interestingly enough, in Massachusetts, school enrollment is declining on average across the state. And in Easton, our school enrollment has declined over the last 10 years. Even with the new housing that we've brought on with some new students, we're still 200 students short of where we were 10 years ago in our school system. Many of the students that are in some of the new housing are students that already lived in Easton. So that's one of the ways that we have to look at the numbers also. This school is built for 760 students, which is what we have now in that grade configuration, but it has the flexibility of 10% more. So we would be able to accommodate, and that's one of the things that the Mass School Building Authority wants to know, is that you are planning and preparing for increases in enrollment. When you do get new schools, obviously your town becomes more attractive, and there is likely to be an influx of students when that happens, and then it stabilizes afterwards.
You said that there is a decrease in the total number of enrollment.
Yes.
What grade levels are those at?
I don't know that off the top of my head, but I do have, I have those numbers, just not with me,
Because,
so.
like, kindergarten may be increasing and 7th grade is smaller. Because they're now going to a parochial school.
Right.
High school, whatever, or vocational tech. If the kindergarten is increasing, then we can plan on a larger class going up the line too.
Right.
And have we got room in our high school and our middle school for them to go to?
Those are good questions. I don't have the answers to those, but I can get those for you and certainly let you know.
It sounds like the busing situation will improve considerably if we consolidate schools.
Well, thank you for bringing that up. That's a really good point also. When we have to bring in engineers to look at all of the aspects of this school, one of them was a traffic study. And we didn't just do a traffic study for that particular school, we did one for the whole campus, and we did it for a radius outside of the campus also. So the way that they expect the configuration to change is supposed to improve the traffic throughout the whole campus. And you'll see on the schematics that are posted on the website how the traffic will come. The buses will go a certain way. The drop-offs will go a certain way. It takes into consideration the queuing, so how many cars are going to be down, lined up to drop children off. Is there enough room for that? Is it going? It actually, it's hard to describe because I don't have it in front of me, but if the old Park View is here, the new one is here, when they take this down, the travel is going to be all around it this way. And in front of the school, they'll be able to shut down. That's only where the bus drop-off will be. They're going to shut that down after the buses drop off, so there won't be through traffic there. And the ball fields will be on the other side of it, so it almost makes it like a big area that the kids can play in, and the through traffic will go around the other side of it.
There was a lot of talk some years ago about bringing the special needs children back into our system instead of paying exorbitant prices for them to go to other schools out of town. So, do you know what the progress is on that? And will this school building accommodate those extra children?
Yes, the question is about bringing students with special needs to keep them in our system. It's a great idea, and our school department has been talking about this for several years now. It's a very good idea to keep students that have special needs in our school system. For one, financially, it makes more sense. It's more cost effective to do that in-house, but just ethically, we want these students to be able to stay with their friends and in their own neighborhoods rather than putting them on a bus and sending them, maybe an hour each way to get special services. So the schools have done a very good job over the past several years of being able to enhance those services so that we can keep students in our town. And this new building does accommodate areas for special learners. One of the things that's interesting about it is, so they just looked at it's going to be 2 levels. So the pre-K is going to be on 1 floor, and then the older grades will be on the 2nd floor. And there'll be I believe it's a music room and an art room on the 2nd floor. So the little ones will have opportunity to go to the 2nd floor for some things. They're looking at putting in a ramp that almost there's no stairs to get up to the 2nd floor. And then in another part of the building, there are stairs to get up. But that would not only benefit little kids who are, trying to navigate the big staircases, but also people with different abilities. There will be elevators in the school, but the different abilities, physical abilities, not just for the children, but for teachers and for grandparents and the public, that's all taken into consideration also. So it will all, of course, be ADA compliant, but really a lot of consideration was given to that.
What are the other things in town that are discussed at your meetings or seem to be areas that you would want to tell us about?
Well, I guess right now the big thing is the economic development. So the sewer projects, these have been things that have been in the works for years. To be in the middle of these, the Economic Development Council is working really hard to try to attract businesses to the community. And it's really about a balance, right? The people that I talk to, they want to maintain the way that Easton always was. That's why people move here. They want it to be rural. They don't want to turn it into a city. So, all these other communities around us, like Stoughton and Mansfield and Foxborough, they have a lot of business and a lot of commercial. We want to balance it a little bit more than that. We do want to attract business because we do need the business tax revenue so that the total burden doesn't fall on the taxpayers' real estate property tax. But we want to do it in a way that's thoughtful and strategic and not, have a Walmart on Route 138. We want to attract businesses that work well together so that if you're going to go to one business, it would attract the businesses near it that would draw the same people. Like you might want to go to lunch with your family in one place and your insurance agent is in the building next door, and we're trying to have conversations like that with business organizations. Roach Brothers Plaza is a really good example of that. They had started with a couple of medical offices there, and now it's a real medical center. Those are the best kinds of places to have besides restaurants. Restaurants, you get meals tax. You don't have a lot of burden on the infrastructure when you have office buildings like that. So, the people that have designed that or the developers that wanted to bring that business there did that thoughtfully by saying, we have some doctors' offices and there may also be places to buy medical equipment close by, and start to think of that. Of course, that's just us trying to market the town. At the end of the day, we don't own private property, so the town can't make things happen specifically, but we can kind of put the word out for the kind of business that we're looking for.
Can you make a comment on Avalon? And because I asked you about that, because they wanted to increase the number of apartments, and people were complaining that there should be commercial instead of residential property. But you had mentioned to me that was where they wanted to go, was private property, and one can't control that or regulate it in any way.
Right. The people that own the plaza, they're the ones who can, if it's within the zoning, which it is, then the people who own the plaza you know, if they want to sell part of that land to Avalon to expand, you know, that's not something that we can get involved in. But the more foot traffic and the more people that live in a certain area, that does encourage new business investment. So there's already going to be a new barbecue restaurant that's going to come there, and the park owners are talking with other businesses and restaurants, trying to get them interested. And once there's sewer there, it will even be better.
When do you contemplate a tax increase for commercial? Right now, they have the same tax rate as residential, and I think it's 20% is the magic number.
You're right.
Correct?
You're paying attention, Priscilla. 20% of the when the businesses reach about 20% of your revenue in the town, that's when the Board of Selectmen can vote to have a split tax rate. And right now, it's one tax rate for businesses and for homeowners. And at that point, that's usually when communities will take a look at changing that.
Do you have any idea when that may occur?
I don't.
Okay. If that happens, if you split the tax rate, I live on 138, which means I am in a commercially zoned area. Will my house tax go up to 20% because of it?
No. And 20% isn't the tax rate. It means the amount of, if you look at 100% of the tax revenue, if 20% of it comes from business. So it's not, they won't be paying 20%. It's just the ratio of business to residential. And the residential tax rate can only go up because of Proposition 2.5. It can only go up the 2.5%. So you'll never get a 20% increase.
Well, if I went to commercial.
But the commercial would be taxed commercial, and residential would always be taxed residential.
What I'm asking is because I live in a commercially zoned area, would my house now be considered commercial?
No, because the use of it would be residential.
Okay.
If you sold your house to somebody who came in and wanted to put a commercial building there, then they would pay the commercial tax rate.
And they could be set at a higher rate than 2.5%.
Right.
What about shovel shop? Are we 5 years out? When will they begin to sell them as condos?
That hasn't started yet, and that isn't something that we have been working on right now, but that is something that's coming up in the next year.
Because the town has a lot of money invested in that, do they not?
We do, and I don't have those numbers off the top of my head. That really started before I was even on the board. So, but that is something internally that the administration looks at and has communication. We have gotten some money back, but I don't know the numbers of that.
Have we passed the 5-year point?
I think we're just at the 5-year point. I'm not sure.
It seems like it.
I think the loan for Shovel Shop was $450 million at 3% interest, and it was to be paid back after when the condos started selling. So the issue is get them, encourage them to start selling, because they're not doing it. All right?
Right.
They're benefiting from the rent, and the rents are high. So, it's important for, I think, the board to lead on that.
Right.
Okay.
Okay.
Repeat that.
Priscilla is asking us to take a look at the shovel works and the 5 years time frame, and to get an update on the condo conversion for that.
So we can get our money back.
Right. But the downside to that is that when those convert, those units will come off our affordable housing rolls. So then we will have to make up for that another way.
Aren't they
So.
off our rolls after 2 years anyway?
No, the number of units there stays on our subsidized housing inventory, and all of the units, when they're rentals, count as affordable housing for that number. So when you hear people say we need to be at 10%, if it's rental units and 25% of them are affordable, all 100%. So if there's 25 units that are affordable, but there's 100 units in the place, all 100 units count towards the threshold.
Okay.
Well, thank you very much.
One more.
Sure, one more question?
Back to the school, actually.
Yes.
How is it going to affect the sewer system? Are we going to have to increase our sewer plant down there?
There will have to be some the sewer plant updates and upgrades there, and that's all included in the cost.
One more thing about sewers. What's happening in the trailer park?
The mobile home park, there are several court hearings in process on that. So the people that live in the park have a case, the town has a case, and everything's in process right now. There's really no updates. Everything's at a standstill on that.
And the guys who stole all the money are in jail.
I don't think they're in jail, but I think they might be on their way. I don't want to speak out of turn on that, but if you are to Google Morgan Management, I think there's a lot of stories about them in the paper right now that you can read.
Okay, well, we want to thank you, Dottie, so much.
Thank you very
And
much.
Sorry that you got grilled, but you expected that from this group.
I love these great questions. That shows that everybody's interested in paying attention, so I really appreciate it a lot.
And isn't she wonderful? She's so resourceful and a source of so much information. I don't know how you keep it in your head, but you do.
Thank you for being so knowledgeable and articulate.
Yes.
Oh, thank you very much. Thank you.
Judy Carlson said she's knowledgeable and articulate, and so you had our attention, and we appreciate so much your coming.
Oh, great.
September is the month that you come and share with us what's happening in Easton, and we so appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you
And
so
I'm happy to
much.
come back anytime.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah.